So without further ado, I'm really delighted to welcome Kate back to the floor again. Once again, thank you for supporting Pilot Careers Live. Kate West from Easyjet delivers a fantastic talk. She always tells me off for building her up, so I'm not going to build her up any more than that. All I will say is welcome back. Thank you very much, Kate. Over to you. You have the floor.
So much. So good to be here, and so good to see so many of you this morning as well. It's a really exciting time when you're starting off on your exploration of learning industry and trying to think about where you might go and what type of aviation you'd like to get into. So great to see you all this morning, and thank you again, Karen, for having me. Aviation is a very small industry, even though there's lots of information out there today. It's a very small world. Karen and Carla at the back as well go back a long way, 15 years when I first applied for a flying school. Carla did my interview, so if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here this morning, so thank you very much. Yeah, so, you know, who knows, the people that you've met here today, you may come into contact with them throughout the rest of your career. So great to start building those connections this morning, and as we know, it's all about connections and building those relationships. I'm a training manager for Easyjet. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey and also a little bit about the MPL programme. So hands up, who's heard of an MPL? A few, but not many. So I'll try and explain to you a little bit about the MPL programme, what that means. Aviation is an industry full of acronyms, so I'll try not to use too many, but if I do, I'll try and explain what they are. So obviously, I'm part of Easyjet. So hands up, who's flown with Easyjet before? Amazing, that's great to see. I'll give you a little bit of information about Easyjet. So Easyjet was started back in 1995. We just had 2 aircraft, 2 Boeing 737s, and now 29 years later we've just received our 400th Airbus. We now have a fleet of 338 aircraft, all Airbus A319, 20 and 21 aircraft. So growing fleet. Growing network. We have over 1,000 routes within our network, and we have 9 bases across the UK. We have over 29, we've now got 30 bases. We just opened another base last week, 30 bases across Europe. So an expanding airline, ever growing. We're going to be the fastest growing airline in Europe this summer. So we're looking for some more pilots, and that's where you come in. So that's why we're here today. Over a 5-year period, we're looking for 1,000 pilots to join our MPL programme. So maybe some of you in this room will be part of that programme in the future. So hands up, who is the budding pilot in the room? Excellent, lots of hands go up. That means that the rest of you are the support network. Which is great. I've got my support network on the back row. Great to have so many of you here today. So the support network are really important, so I'm really pleased to see that you're all here. I myself have a very supportive family. Unfortunately, they don't come from an aviation background, so they didn't really know what advice to give me when it came to selecting the airline, the flying school, the route of entry. So it's great to have so many supporters here today supporting you on your journeys to becoming that pilot in the future. So there are actually 3 elements to becoming a successful pilot, or in any industry actually. The success, it relies on you, the hard work and determination that you put in yourself, that support network that is going to be there to pick you up when you have a bit of a bump along the way, but also a really, really good training provider. So that's obviously what you're here to find, that third and final element to that success. So let's look at the MPL. So what is an MPL programme? There are lots of routes to entry. You'll hear people talk about modular, you'll hear people talk about integrated, ATPL, MPL, so many acronyms. But the MPL is a multi-pilot's licence. So as a commercial pilot, we fly in a multi-crew environment. There are 2 pilots in the flight deck within Easyjet. Sometimes a third will sit on the jump seat as well to observe our training. So we're working as a team, that multi-crew environment. And that's where the MPL brings the element of the multi-crew in from an earlier stage. So most training courses will start with a theoretical knowledge. So you need to do your ATPL exams for this course and like many others. And that's where we start. So we do 10 months of ground school to do our 13 ATPL exams in subjects such as meteorology, communication, aircraft general knowledge, things like that. That's very generic across all courses. And that for us takes about 10 months, done at either our Gatwick Training Centre or Brussels or Madrid. We have many options, but obviously for the UK course it would be done in Gatwick. That Gatwick Sim Centre is actually an Easyjet centre where our Easyjet pilots train as well. And then once you've completed those exams successfully, you'll go up to a nicer weather location, because we need some fair weather to do some flying in a small aircraft. So a single engine or twin engine aircraft, you'll do about 100 hours of flying within that time. And that takes about 6 months. And then you'll come back to Europe. I say back to Europe because the fair weather location at the moment is currently Phoenix in Arizona. So back to one of our simulator centres in Europe to complete the simulator phase. And this is really what sets the MPL programme apart from a traditional integrated type course, because that simulator phase is 3 times as long as your traditional type rating that you might complete at the end of an integrated course. The reason it's so much longer is because that's where we find is the most relevant to the training that you're going to be doing in the real job. It's the most relevant to the job that you're going to be doing. And actually, speaking to the 360 cadets that we have in the programme at the moment, they all say to me, at that point where they start their simulator phase, they feel like they're doing the job. You know, they're already in the simulator, flying the Airbus A320, doing the job that they've been, dreaming of for years. So, they feel part of the airline already from that stage, and it's really great to see as they're working in our aircraft and in our simulators. So, Easyjet are part of it from the very beginning. We are here to recruit today, so when you apply for the programme, you're actually applying for a job with an airline. And this is one thing that, looking back, it wasn't an option for me, but I remember speaking to one of my parents, and I said, I haven't got a job at the end of this, what am I going to do? But now it's such a great time in the industry where there are sort of guaranteed jobs available at the end of courses, and with Easyjet and the MPL programme, you're actually applying for that job at the very beginning. So you're going throughout all of this training knowing that on successful completion of that, you have a job at the end of it. So it just takes away that little bit of worry about what am I going to do at the end of this. So it's really great. And obviously, as part of that, we have a team within Easyjet that support you throughout that training as well, which is great. So for those that don't have that support network, we provide that for you. So we're also involved in what the training looks like. So we don't just say to CAE, who are our training provider of choice, we don't say to them, hey, can you train these people, train them however you like, and we'll see them in 18 months. We actually are part of that training. We write the training course with them. We use the data, and data is such a key part of this course. We use all the data of all the training that we've delivered over the many years, and we use that data to make the course better. So we haven't just written it once and said, hey, that'll do. We're constantly looking at the course and improving it based on the data and the feedback. And we have so much data from all of those 338 aircraft that are flying every single day, and we integrate that into making the programme better every year. So Easyjet train competencies. We don't look specifically at how to deal with this situation, the next situation, because who knows what the next situation may be on the line. So we want all of our pilots to have strong pilot competencies. So competencies are things like teamwork, leadership, communication, problem solving. So those skills are embedded within the MPL programme from the very beginning. So we're using our data from the flight data that we build up through our flights. We're using the training data. We're looking at how to make our pilot competencies better so that when you join Easyjet, having done this MPL programme, you're a very well-rounded, well-trained Easyjet pilot based on the pilot competencies that we're looking for. So you're more prepared for our Easyjet line operation. We also find actually that through an MPL programme, the pilots that come out at the end of it continue to show improved preparedness all the way up through their command course. So when a pilot 5-6 years down the line does a command course, we actually see better results from a pilot who's done an MPL programme in the very beginning. And it's because of the data that we input to constantly improve the programme and the Easyjet relevance from the very beginning. Another thing that's really important is the type of training device that you use. So, as I've mentioned already, the simulators that you use for the 3 times as long, 150 hours of simulator training is an Airbus A320. So when I did my training, some of the simulator element was actually in a 737. I've never flown a 737 since. So we make sure that the training that is being provided is all relevant at every stage, rather than doing a little bit and having to forget that to learn something else. It's a building block approach. So we're using all relevant information, and the simulators and the training devices that you use are all relevant as well. So we have a suite of equipment, lots of different devices, but they're all relevant to the Airbus. We have, in our training centre in Gatwick, we have 5 full flight simulators, just like that's the Gatwick Simulator Centre there. And in Milan, we also have another 5 simulators exactly the same. So it doesn't matter which simulator device you're going into, they're all exactly the same and exactly the same as our aircraft as well. So really up-to-date technology there to get you, again, prepared for the line operation. So the reason that I'm showing you these simulators is because when you do your training, you're training in an Easyjet training centre using the Easyjet simulators alongside regular line pilots. So I was in the simulator centre this week in one of those simulators doing my own recurrent training. Every 6 months within aviation, you have to do recurrent training in the simulator, something I didn't know before I joined, and I wish someone had warned me because it's like doing your driving test again every 6 months. So we revisit those simulators. So you've got normal line pilots walking around the training centre alongside our cadets. So you may be in the coffee queue at the cafe in the gym centre next to the chief training captain, and you know you get to ask people questions. You know you're already part of the airline and immersed within the airline from the very beginning. So you sort of really feel part of the airline for the whole journey. So some of you in the room look like you may be quite early on your journeys, in the sense that you could join the airline at 18, you could join the training programme at 18 years old, and it's only a 20-month course, so you could be joining Easyjet at the age of 19, and that's quite a long time to then spend for the rest of your career. So one of the great things for me about Easyjet, I've been there for 13 years now, is the opportunities within the airline. So it's one of the real drivers for me is you know, why I'm so passionate about Easyjet. They really look after their people, and if they spot talent, they'll really develop it and look after it and grow you as an individual. So let's look at what a typical career may look like within Easyjet. You'll do your training programme, your 20 months of training, the MPL programme that we just talked about, and then you'll join Easyjet as a second officer. So you'll be flying in the right-hand seat of one of our jets, learning, gaining experience from the captains that you're flying alongside. And you're building up those hours. Hours are really important within aviation. Milestones are based on hours. So one example of a milestone there is your upgrade to first officer, about 1,250 hours. Another upgrade to senior first officer at 2,500. The upgrade to senior first officer is the point where you get a third stripe. So you start with 2 as a second officer and first officer, then you get your third stripe at senior first officer. Another element to become a senior first officer is also to have an ATPL. So we've been talking about an MPL, which is a multi-pilot's licence. You can convert that to an ATPL at the 1,500 hour mark. And that's the same as the point where you may have heard of a frozen ATPL, where you unfreeze it. It's the same for an MPL, but you convert it to an ATPL licence at the same point. So the ATPL is what you would need to then become a captain in the future. So continuing to build those hours up towards your command. So you can enter the command process within Easyjet at 2,000 hours. Which if you're flying regularly within Easyjet, you could be building up those hours within maybe 3-4 years and becoming a captain shortly after that. And that's the point where you get 4 stripes, moving to the left-hand seat. And I think for most people, that's their ambition when they become a pilot, to become a captain in the future. So that isn't a rite of passage. It takes a lot of work, a lot of exams, competency-based simulator assessments and interviews to get there. But as I say, you could do that within 5 years of your career within Easyjet. So you could be a captain at the age of 24. So what else are you going to do to keep yourself motivated and interested? Well, there are lots of other opportunities within Easyjet. There is opportunities to get involved with training. So I have a fantastic training first officer at the back called Amy. She has been joined the team after being at Easyjet for just a few years, and she's training people who have been at Easyjet for 20 years. So our training philosophy is very much that we're all together to learn as equals. So it doesn't matter how much experience you have, you can all learn from each other. And Amy is a fantastic example of a training first officer opportunity within Easyjet. We also have safety pilots. So as an industry, the industry is very conscious about safety, and we want to make sure that we learn from every experience and make sure that it can be as safe as it possibly can be for our passengers. So we have a team of people that work in the safety team to make sure that we're doing that within Easyjet. And you can do that as a first officer as well. So again, lots of opportunities to get involved in other areas of the business. And then, of course, when you become a captain, there's other opportunities to become a simulator instructor, a line trainer. management roles, so many opportunities to get involved in within the business. Obviously, we're a growing airline, so as we grow, the more opportunities that are available. So how do you make sure that you stand out at your interview to get these opportunities to join these amazing airlines? Well, the Easyjet assessment is 3 phases for the MPL programme. The first phase, of course, is just the entry requirements. So, you know, you'll upload your exam results onto the portal, making sure that you meet the criteria. And if you meet the criteria, you'll be invited to a stage 2 assessment. Most assessments will include some form of aptitude test, and that's the phase 2 of our assessment. If you then pass the aptitude test, you'll be invited to an interview. So the virtual assessment day, which is run by Dale, who's at the back as well, supporting this morning. And that assessment day starts with a presentation. So we hope, of course, that you've done your research. It's really important to turn up to these interviews well prepared, having looked at the airline, the background. I was just speaking to somebody earlier on the stand about our H1 results, our financial results as a business. They've just been released this week. So coming to your interview knowing a little bit about the business, about their values, that would be great. But obviously we deliver a presentation to give you a bit more information as well, which may help for the interview section. So we'll give you the presentation and then we will have a group exercise. So you've got to remember on the group exercise, if there's 8 of you on the group assessment day, there are 8 jobs available. So it's not a competition. So we really want to see you working as a team. You know, we don't want the person to shout the loudest. We want the person to ask the quieter members of the group what their opinion is. You know, we're looking for real team players. It's a really important part of the Easyjet culture. Following the group exercise, there'll also be an interview. And we're really looking for you to shine. So it's your opportunity to sell yourself modestly. So yeah, we're looking for those examples of times when you've shown the skills that we're looking for. So it's really easy for anybody to say, I'm a good team player, but we're looking for examples where you've shown that skill. So competency-based interviews. So have a practice and have a look at what competency-based questions you may get asked and come up with a few examples of how you may show the skills that we're looking for, those competencies that we're looking for as pilots. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, we're hoping to see some motivation for the airline as well. Whatever airline you apply for, they're hoping that you've done a bit of research about that airline to show that you're interested in working for that particular airline, and also why. So what I'd suggest is look at the airline's values, and you're looking for an airline that aligns with your values. You know, training schools you'll be at for maybe 2 years, an airline you could be at for your whole career. So you really want to be somewhere where you feel comfortable and you feel that your values align with the values of that business. So that would be my first advice step. Look at airlines, look at what they stand for. You know, Easyjet, for example, I really align with their values on inclusion. They really want to make the airline a place where you all feel valued and safe to come to work. They're really looking at sustainability and how we can make the airline industry sustainable for the future, to make sure that we're still flying planes in years to come. So, you know, looking at what that airline is doing to sustain the business for the future, and does that align with you and what you're looking for as an employer. So that would be my advice for the assessment day, and also for choosing which airline and which flying school to go to. So I'll hand over to Karen in case you've got any Slido questions for me.
I do. Phew, thank you very much. Fab again, Kate. Thank you very much. I love Kate's so engaging, so I was immersed then. So thank you very much. Yeah, a question has come in, really simple. Why Easyjet?
Well, hopefully I've just answered that in the last little segment there.
Yeah.
I'd say look for an airline that aligns with you, aligns with your values, what you stand for. And I want to go to somewhere to work that I feel valued, I feel safe and able to be myself, and Easyjet is that for me. And you know, the things that they're doing for the world, you know, we're looking to try and make the aviation industry more sustainable for the future, so that we all can have a job in the future. I think it's fantastic. So yeah, I just really believe in what they're doing.
Yeah, if you need any more kind of passion, then then I don't know where you're going to go, because that passion's very clear for Easyjet. And in fact, everybody I meet feels exactly the same way about the airline. So I think that's very evident, very supportive of their staff as well. Another question, slightly more challenging, this one. So my understanding is that Easyjet does not pay bond for type rating. Could you go over the potential costs of type rating?
I'd suggest coming to the stand to speak to us about costs. Dale is in the recruitment team and will have much more up-to-date knowledge on the cost background of all the different routes of entry. So, yeah, any specific questions on that, I'd come and speak to us on the stand later on.
Yeah, excellent. Another one, is there benefit in doing an aviation-related degree, in your view?
So that was a conversation I had with my parents. They wanted me to go to university. I was quite adamant that I didn't want to go to university because I just wanted to be a pilot. It's a real personal choice. For me, I think if I had gone to university, I wouldn't be stood here today. I'd be, you know, it'd be a very different journey, so I'm glad that I didn't. And I think it's always something you can do in the future. So if you're driven and being a pilot is your plan A, why do plan B first? I say focus on plan A, and then if it doesn't work out, you can do plan B afterwards, would be my advice.
Yeah. OK, no, that's a good answer. And then one more for you, Kate, before we let you go. Back to the stand and the melee that is. So would you recommend doing air cadets before flight school? Does it make the applications any better? Will it help with your training?
Absolutely. So I'm a big advocate for air cadets. I was an air cadet myself. Again, if it wasn't for air cadets, I probably wouldn't be stood here. I'd probably use air cadets as some examples in my interview because it gives you great experiences of all of those skills that you're trying to display in your interview. You know, when you showed good teamwork, when you displayed good communication. There is no way, if I hadn't done air cadets, that I'd be stood here, because I was very shy as a teenager, but it really brought me out of myself. So I think if you're looking to build those skills in, you know, teamwork and that kind of thing, I think it's a great place to be, and the opportunities that it provides not only will help you develop as a person, but will be great for your interview.
Yeah, I mean, I totally endorse that answer. Anything that you can do where you get engaged with people and they're setting you challenges and just taking you slightly outside of your regular everyday comfort box will always help you with any kind of application process and in building your own interpersonal skills for whatever career you choose. But certainly air cadets for this industry is a perfect idea. Kate, thank you very much. You're a superstar as ever. I'm going to ask people to leave here through this door and go and see Kate on stand rather than stop her in here, because we have another talk starting in here shortly. I have to remind myself again what time that is. So when you leave, just be careful. Use the handrail down the side so that please don't fall, because those steps are a bit sneaky. So the next talk in here is... sorry to say this, Ryanair in front of Easyjet, a bit brave of me, at 13:30. But there's also another ATO-sponsored talk, which is Leading Edge at 12:55 in the London suite. So you can get to that by going underneath the escalators here. It's at the back of the atrium area. So, as I said earlier, ask all your questions. Make sure you get those questions answered whilst you're with us today. It's a prime opportunity to engage with people with all different types of experience. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you again, Kate.